All right, so I was sitting around this morning and I was watching a replay of Friday Night Tights, and they were talking about something from Cinemacon where Marvel was promoting or kind of talking about their movies over the years and the success that they've had. And it was saying something about how over the last 17 years they've made a reported $33 billion from their films. So the image, which I'll throw up, you've got 17 years, 37 films, $33 billion. It's interesting to kind of look at something like this and to try to provide context, because what that number is the worldwide box office for all 37 films that they've made. So that $33 billion, and even the $33 billion is a slight lie, because if you go to thenumbers.com, the actual worldwide box office for all 37 of those films is $32.36 billion. So they've already lied a little bit right out the gate. They've rounded it up just, for funds. So we're going to play a little game called Context. So $33 billion is the worldwide box office. But if you know anything about these types of things, the worldwide box office, reporting just that, they're not accounting for the production, how much it costs to make the film, nor are they accounting for how much it costs to advertise for the film, nor are they accounting for how much money the movie theaters get. So they're not accounting for the theater cut. So what we're going to do then, the standard kind of calculation that you do here to account for that is to multiply the budget, the reported budget, by 2.5, which will account for how much it costs to make the film. It will account for the marketing costs and the cut that the theaters take from the box office. So we're going to take the reported budgets, multiply those by 2.5, and then subtract that from the worldwide box office to figure out what the profit was. So how much of these Marvel films actually made? They reported $33 billion, but if we take that budget multiplied by 2.5 and we subtract out, it drops down to $13.72 billion. From $32 billion, it dropped down to $13 billion. So we've lost almost $20 billion in there. It's a lot of money. Let's look at another thing. So if we take just the films up to Endgame, so from the beginning, from Iron Man all the way down to Endgame, you've got 22 films. They have a worldwide box office of $21.3 billion. So that accounted for 21 billion of that 32 billion that they were talking, or the 33 billion that they reported. Okay. But if we do the same calculation to figure out the profit, you're looking at a profit of $10.4 billion. So all of the films together had a profit of $13.7 billion. The films up to Endgame accounted for 10.4 of that. You can kind of see where this is going. Now, if we then do the reverse and we look at the back half, so from Spider-Man Far From Home up to Fantastic Four, The First Steps, you've got a worldwide box office of $11.02 billion and a profit of $3.2 billion, or 3.3 because it's 3.296. So you could say $3.3 billion is all they've made for the last, 15 films? Now, it gets even trickier, because part of the problem that they've done with this is that they included all of the Spider-Man films in that, which are all Sony films, which Sony's also going to take the lion's share of that money. So if we go back from the beginning and we remove the 3 Spider-Man films, so we remove Homecoming, we remove Far From Home, we remove No Way Home, and we've knocked it down to 34 films now. We have a worldwide box office of $28.43 billion and a profit of $11.125 billion. Okay. So we've lost So the initial profit was $13 billion. And now without the Spider-Man films, we've dropped it down to $11 billion. Sadly, this gets even worse if we look at just the back half film. So if we look from Black Widow up to the Fantastic Four, The First Steps, which is the main kind of Disney Marvel films post Endgame, which is 13 movies, we have a worldwide box office of $7.9 billion and a profit for all 13 of those movies of $1.14 billion. They have made $1 billion off of all 13 of those movies put together. That is the profit for all of it. Mind you, Deadpool and Wolverine did most of the heavy lifting there. So the other way to look at this is the profit margin. So trying to figure out how much they make versus how much they put in. The profit margin, the average profit margin for those 13 films from Black Widow up to the first steps is negative 9%. Which means that for every dollar that Disney spends to make those movies, they lose 9 cents. Not like, oh, they made it back. No. Every dollar, they're paying an extra 9 cents past that dollar to just throw away. They're throwing away 9 cents. So they spend all the money to make it, and then they take an extra 9 cents for every dollar they've spent and throw it away. That's the average. So throwing up a number like $33 billion sounds impressive when you look at it. You're like, oh, wow, that's a lot of money. Yeah, it's a lot of money. But realistically, when you're looking at the profit to begin with is already cut over in half. Like it's less than half of what they reported, because the profit, even if we look at it in the brightest light and we include every single film, it's $13 billion. It's less than half of that number. So the context is important. And this is a context that people really need to get their head around when they're looking at these types of things, to understand these companies throw out these big numbers and they try to throw out these things to get people hyped about it, but it's not nearly as shiny and happy as they'd like it to be. But anyways, so that's the reality of how much money Marvel's actually made on these films over the last, 17 years is what they said. And again, when you really put it into context and you really think about the overall picture, even in its heyday, it wasn't as beautiful and bright as they wanted it to be. But past Endgame, it has been nothing but a disaster. And there needs to come a point when they own up to that. But anyways, that was just a random thing I was thinking about today, and I had all the numbers up, so I figured I'd just run those through and give you guys a little context. Thanks for listening. Have a good day. See you later.